The reason that so many viewers tuned in was the witty rapport back and forth, where we are often like, what are we talking about? Well, I don't know. Let's talk about this bill. So, which is a happy accident of our disorganization, right?
Yeah, let's see if we can pull it off completely virtually.
We're good. Just run with it. I'll edit anything that's not good. You know that.
Yeah.
Except that hair bump. I can't do a thing about that hair bump.
His or mine?
Go. We got to go.
Okay, go.
Here it goes.
Right, let's do it.
It's going to be the best one we've done all year.
And action. Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Sarah?
I am doing all right. It's a great new year.
This is not as fun as being in that tiny little office, shoulder to shoulder, but
right.
I'm glad to see you. And
yeah, it's good to see you too.
We have a lot of exciting work ahead.
We do, and we have a lot of exciting potential as well. I think when we start to look at what COVID relief and federal stimulus money might be able to do for some of the money-saving priorities that we have as a Climate Solutions Caucus, I'm getting really excited.
Yeah, it turns out stimulating the economy can be done by investing in climate infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that is an exciting opportunity. People, want us, I think, to focus on jobs and the economy. And I agree with that, focus myself. And also, we should do that in a way that stimulates alternatives in the transportation sector, saving money on home heat, et cetera, et cetera. There's real potential.
Absolutely. And, we can hope that Congress is going to get right to work getting some of these packages out to the states to help us create jobs and save Vermonters money on their heating and transportation costs. And that's going to be a big focus of ours this year.
It does seem like Congress is likely to fund some broadband build out, which is, I always say, climate infrastructure.
Absolutely.
We sure need that, right? So that's promising. I think for folks that are wondering what we're going to do this year, we're going to be watching for a lot of ways that federal stimulus can be used in a sort of do this, and this all at once, one of which would be stimulating our economy, creating jobs, and helping us reduce emissions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So should we talk about the work that we're going to do, keeping track of what the Climate Council is doing? Our big win from last year was Global Warming Solutions Act that established a Vermont Climate Council that's made up roughly half of administration, secretaries and agency heads, and the other half Vermonters who are out in various sectors of our economy. Representing different areas of the state, representing rural parts of the state, representing cities and towns. And so there's a really powerful council with a lot of potential there. And I've been following their meetings, and I hope that folks will tune in and follow their meetings as well. They have a meeting coming up on Monday where they're going to start to establish some of their subcommittees. And we hope and expect that is going to be what jumpstarts the real meat of the work, because they have, basically 8 months at this point to put a draft plan together for how Vermont meets essentially its Paris climate goals.
Yeah, no, and it's I am excited about it. It's a big group of people, which reflects how climate impacts every segment of our economy and our lives. So agriculture and forestry and transportation and really across the board. It sounds like they're getting their feet under them. There's been a little tussle between some of the administration folks, the bureaucrats that are used to running things, and the more citizen voices who are saying, well, wait a minute, I have the same role here. I have a vote on this council. I'm pleased to see that. I think any new committee kind of needs to wrestle through that a little bit. Sounds like they're doing that.
Yeah. And, I hope that as they either volunteer or assign each other to these subcommittees, that they really will start to harness some of the expertise that they have and really dive in deep. It's going to be important to me, and I know it is to you as well, that we make sure that the Climate Council is engaging with Vermonters, and that Vermonters know how to access what they're doing and the work that they're doing. So I've been listening in every week or every time they meet. They typically meet on Mondays, and you can find their schedule online. And it's really easy to listen in, and they usually have a public comment period as well, where citizens can ask questions at the end of the meeting.
And so we're going to do our our best in these videos to just cover what they're talking about and give you a little snapshot of what's going on there as we're trying to learn, as the legislature has to play an oversight role. But one thing worth noting, because I am critical of the Scott administration sometimes when it comes to this. Of course, he vetoed this bill. He's been sort of dragging his feet, you might say. But they did ask for $1 million in budget adjustment to go to things like data collection, really supporting the work of the council. I mean, this is a major project meant to last many, many years. This is the state saying, hey, we got to have a plan to reduce our emissions. Our emissions are greater than anyone else in New England. Our reduction in emissions is lagging. This is a serious undertaking. How can we do it thoughtfully in a way that fits with the Vermont economy and recognizes our rural pressures, et cetera? So I'm heartened to see them asking for that money, because we have to do a good job. We can't kind of nudge our way there. We got to really take this on. So that is a promising development.
Absolutely. And the budget adjustment bill is being considered right now in the House. We are advocating with our appropriations committee members and with the relevant policy committees to say, yes, we agree. We want to make sure that this council is well-resourced to be able to write a good plan for the state of Vermont. And so I would say within a week, we should know whether that money has been approved by the House, and then it'll be off to you in the Senate, and you guys can do your consideration. So a few steps along the way, but it's an exciting development, and we'll keep you up to date and informed about what's going on with the council.
Sarah, tell back in our field of the legislature, tell folks about H94, the Transportation Modernization Act. Right? Is that what we call it? Is that the right bill number?
Yeah. It's an exciting development. It's a way of structuring our transportation budget so that we can see very clearly where the areas are that we want to focus on in order to help Vermonters use less fossil fuels. So whether that's better bike and pedestrian access or better EV charging infrastructure so people can get around Vermont in their electric vehicle. And so we are really looking forward to seeing the Transportation Committee dig into that. I think they're pretty excited about the potential and looking forward to moving that along.
Lots of sponsors on that one, I think, right? Yeah, great. You know, it is important for us to build out the electric vehicle infrastructure. But we've also been able to fund money to help lower income folks just get into a more efficient vehicle, you know, and just that transition. Sometimes we're like all or nothing, and we got to realize this is we're late. It's an urgent battle, but we also don't have to just go for perfection. We can move in the right direction, and that's meaningful. That's really meaningful. Do you think I have this simple goal that at every exit of the highway, we'll have a park and ride? I think we can get there. Like that's the kind of thing that maybe we could talk about in this transportation modernization, right?
Right, yeah.
Not rocket science, park and rides.
Yeah, 2 people in one vehicle cuts the emission in half.
Not during COVID. It's not a good idea, probably. We've seen them. We've seen them not be utilized, which is heartening in the sense of public health. But once we get through the pandemic, we need park and rides. Very, very straightforward. Yeah. Over in the Senate, doesn't have a bill number yet, but it's coming. Is something we're calling, I guess, weatherization for all. Right. One of the best ways to stimulate the economy, to help Vermonters save money on their fuel, is to weatherize our home. And that's not like wildly. I mean, it's well understood. Our buildings are second highest source of emissions. But it's been tricky because it's hard to finance. And the idea is not necessarily for a lot of state money to go into this project. We do spend some money on low-income weatherization, but to create an infrastructure where federal dollars could come in, where maybe even community-raised bonds could come in, where the utilities could help people, maybe with an on-bill financing. We're exploring all of these things, but the idea is to really ratchet up the effort and commit to weatherizing a whole lot of more homes and saving people money. And these are good jobs. And you can't, nobody in Mexico you can't outsource these. You can't have somebody in China weatherize your home. It's somebody local. And so I'm really heartened by that. It's actually been spearheaded by Senator Bray, who's the relevant chair, Chris Bray from Addison, and Neil Lunderville, who's CEO of Vermont Gas. Now, that's an interesting pairing.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful for that, to get some legs and at least set up some infrastructure, whether or not maybe some federal stimulus dollars could go in there. But that's another thing we're going to be watching closely. And what else do we need to tell people about?
I think we've got a couple other bill priorities, and let's leave this as a teaser that we'll come back next week and talk about a couple of other bill priorities that the Climate Solutions Caucus is going to be putting its weight behind. And we'll come back with another update next week on the work of the Climate Council.
Sounds great. Great to be back with you, Sarah. I mean, we've been in touch the whole time.
Sorry that we're not squeezed under the fluorescent lights in that little room.
And for folks watching, this is a weird year for everybody, right? In every way, including in the legislature. We're clearly focused on COVID and the pandemic and the economy. But I want you to hear that there's no way we just sort of slough off climate work. It's about incorporating it into those priorities. And it's not just me and Sarah. There's dozens and dozens of legislators. We had probably 40 people yesterday at our first caucus meeting in a very busy time. Leadership has been willing to meet with us and talk through the strategy. So there's real reasons to be hopeful that we can sort of handle the whole universe here of challenges, at least make some progress.
We're going to keep working on it. Climate's not going to wait.
That's right. And folks have been really engaged. Thank you, everybody. You've made a huge difference in our progress, and Sarah and I are committed to keeping you informed as best we can.
Yeah. We will. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.